for deals to acquire personally, just so that you know what is it that I am doing, I'm acquiring. So coming from that psychology, I try to look at situations from both sides of
And
the
how do you
angle.
fund the deal? Do you look at funding through your own funding, or you
Yeah, I
take?
have a. It's a combination, right? We could. I mean, ideally, I want to do leverage buyouts, but I have private investors. I have alternate investors. I have several sources of funding, and no matter which way the deal goes, I have access. But the deal has to make sense in terms of what is the meaning of deal has to make sense. Obviously, the free cash flow should cover debt service and operating cost at a minimum. I'm
Hmm.
looking for performing businesses, right? Because I understand how the
So here it
underwriters.
comes. Here it comes. Buyer's expectation. Let's put yourself on the other side of it.
Uh-huh.
So many times you're not able to find a deal as a buyer because
Mm-hmm.
you also have the same expectation as the seller side. Sometimes the buyer has unrealistic expectations also.
Sure,
That
sure, sure.
hey, I
Yeah.
want to buy a business. I want to get a loan. Actually, sometime 100% seller financing. I will take the money from the business. In 2 years, I will pay you, and then the business is mine. If that business can pay you back the money in 2 years or 3 years, or can pay service your debt, why that seller will sell that business to you?
Yeah, of course he will not sell, right? So
So,
again,
so
it's
that's
the
another
same thing.
perspective on a buyer side, where buyers are also not realistic, and they're watching these YouTube videos of motivational speaker and
No, no,
thinking,
no. Those are all waste
thinking
of
that.
conversations. But what I was
So,
trying to get to answer that question in a different way, right? Nobody
mm,
need to lose. That's my style. When I'm on the table, nobody loses.
mm,
Everybody wins. That is on my interest.
mm.
I'm smart enough to structure
So how
things
many
like that.
business have you acquired so far lately?
About seven.
Okay, so what's your strategy? You do buy and build, same industry, or
No,
you
no, no, no,
consider
no.
cross industry?
Basically, my goal is again, a lot of things that I'm telling you may not work in your market. Just be very clear about it. Okay.
Which market?
Um, Middle East, Dubai, or even Asia, it won't work. The
Why
way
not?
because this different. The
Kind
market,
of like what is
the
different?
financing and debt structures and structuring of the debt is very different.
You're talking about
I
SBA or any other structure?
US, a lot of things are possible in US.
Like
A lot of
apart
things
from
are
SBA,
possible in US.
apart from SBA, what do you think is different than other part of
No,
the
I
world?
have not even used SBA so far. I
So
have
what
not even used
other
SBA. You don't have to use SBA. Why do you need
what other
SBA?
options do you have in US for funding the deal apart from
I
SBA?
cannot explain in this one call. It's a very long conversation. I
No,
myself
no, I
am
have all the
involved.
time. I think my next call is not joined yet. I would love to have this conversation if you
No,
don't
no,
mind.
no, no, no. If you want, we can have a separate conversation. But we have a separate business called Genius Business Credit. It's
Okay.
a whole different subject altogether.
Hmm.
But yes, I have not even used SBA so far. Just to give
Right.
clarity for you.
Okay.
I'm not even worried about money. I'll put it that way. When I
Hmm.
say not even worried about money, I'm not sitting with a whole bunch of cash.
Hmm.
I'm not worried about that, even though I don't have that kind of a cash sitting on my table. But I have enough knowledge in this game to get the deals done. At the same time, nobody is deprived, nobody will be taken advantage, everybody wins.
Okay. So
That is the
before.
secret formula because you cannot let anybody down on the table. Whether it
Okay.
is your attorney, whether it is your accountant, whether it is your broker,
Hmm.
whether it is seller, whether it is buyer, but that comes with a deeper level of understanding about everybody's stakes on the table. We
True.
need to really understand everybody's stakes, everybody's efforts, appreciate everybody what they bring to the table. When you understand that, first of all, when I am into these deals, I go way beyond deals.
Yeah.
It's human beings doing things with human beings.
The
I need to
relationship
know who
completely
you
different.
are. I need to know what are you trying to accomplish. Because that's the thing, even in podcast, right? Everything else I'm not interested. What is your finish line?
Yeah.
That's the only one thing I don't need to understand everything else.
Hmm.
What is it that you're trying to accomplish, right? Whether you are in M&A, whether you are in sales, whether in business, whether you are in anything, if you have those objectives very clear, my job is to make sure that you accomplish that.
Hmm.
That's my thought process. It's not about my goals, my money, my deals. That's not the way people operate, and that's why they lose.
Yeah, true.
This is the secret that many people are not, first of all, having patience, nor even having the mindset to think like this, because they're so much self-centered and they're stuck in the self-centeredness. In that process, they're not getting ahead. You can do some things here and there in anything in life. You cannot do big things in life unless you really have that big picture perspective, and then have the creativity, have the resourcefulness. I don't do many deals, just so that you know.
Hmm.
Most deals I don't do, because that's a real statistics, but I will never lose any relationship.
That's very very wise. That's very wise. I'm very much interested in knowing the problem which you mentioned earlier. 8 out of 10 business they never get sold. What do you
No,
think is a solution for it?
the solution is this
To
thing. The
to
solution
change
is
this
having
habit.
the first things first is mindset.
Hmm.
You're, again, like I said, if I start always thinking about me, right, my commission, my brokerage, my thing, my side of looking at it, I don't, at the end of the day, it even boils down to the, I don't care about the seller, I don't care about the buyer. I let them get the damn, let, one way or other I'll get the damn deal done, because I get my paycheck. That, it boils down to that. Because as you start losing time, which you will lose time anyways,
Hmm.
6 months, 7 months, the frustration builds, your desperation builds. Things will go many directions. This thing will happen, that thing will happen, due diligence will, so many things will happen. And you have almost less control or no control in many situations.
As a broker or as a
It,
seller?
it, yeah, between the buyers and sellers, because as the deal further goes, right, you have LOI, you do due diligence, something is not in place, these financials will die, the sales numbers are going down. Now there, so many things will come into the way. You try to play between these things, and finally you're so worried the deal will not get done, I'm not getting paid. So that way, they get to the point where somehow they'll figure out a way to get deal done, because you have committed to the deal and they want to get out of it. And these guys will close the deal with a lot of distress. Either somebody, either seller is unhappy or the buyer is unhappy, and then somewhere down the line you're burning the bridges. But if you really sit together and understand, the whoever it is, whether it is seller or buyer, and clearly they understand their motivations, and you be that person who will make that happen, the money is not going anywhere. Even after closing the deals, they're not running away, they will work only with you. You have to think not just the deal, way beyond the deal, and look at the buyers. Like for me, my thing is, I always do only the things that for long term, whether it is person or business or anything. But I'm way beyond deals, I'm way beyond money. That's how I operate in life. I'm not a transactional guy. I'm way beyond these things. You are worried about this deal, that's your small mindedness. I look for 1,000 deals beyond that. That's my mind. To me, I would rather use you for $1 billion deal than make you tricky and make $1 million with you. But the
Hmm.
other person has a small mind, he's looking for a couple $100,000.
Hmm. Yeah.
So if I'm smart, I would rather push you to make $1 billion than waste my time with you for small little money here and there. But that's how the world operates.
Hmm.
The people who are really making big money are the people who are thinking like this. Even if it means we don't do deal, we are good to go. I have no problem not doing any business with you. But let us get real. Even if it is after 1 year, after 2 years, no problem. But let's do the right thing that makes sense for you, that makes sense for me. That mindset, it's very rare.
Hmm.
Once you have that mindset, it's a magic formula. Wherever you go, whatever you do in this deal making world, they all will come back. Everybody, they, like I said, I will never, ever, ever. All of them, they're wait. They became like best friends. We do a lot of other things, but not the deal.
Hmm.
But we actually started with the deal. That I am like that because I become their trusted advisor. Hey Krishna, what do I do? I am like an advisor at many levels, including personal. People take divorce type decisions by talking to me, just so that you know. These
Hmm.
relationships developed through business. I don't hang out with them, I don't go for lunches or dinners for them. But the level of trust they got just with one interaction, life-changing decisions, they will call me. They don't call attorneys, they don't call brokers.
Hmm. Okay.
Once you get there, what is the problem with money? They
Hmm.
will literally give them money. I did a lot of no money deals just because they like me,
Hmm.
not because of the money thing, because it's no longer money. Likability factor is the key. That's what I observed.
Mm.
I'm not from M&A world,
Mm.
but I came to this world. That's why I have different observations.
Yeah. Okay.
With after working with the guys who really came from Wall Street, I was observing. I was initially scared of all of those fellows, but later realized that they don't know a lot of things that I know. And eventually, I like almost like they all listen to me as if I know so many things, because unknowingly I'm started going so deep into this, and I kind of making a lot of sense when I'm sitting on the table.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So having that perspective is key, because if you're a business owner, you're selling the business, guess what? You may have six businesses.
Mm.
But if I leave you with bad taste with one deal, eventually you're not going to work with other businesses.
Mm.
People miss the big thing. There is a bigger picture behind everything else.
Yeah.
Business owners have multiple businesses. Buyers are having multiple transactions, some other things going on. They may be raising a $2 million capital. They may be taking other company to public. But if they see the potential in you, they're not leaving you here.
Correct. I
So that kind
absolutely
of a
agree.
big thinking, and then they will bring more listings for you,
Mm.
because they know this is the guy. Talk to him, he will get this thing done. So something like that. I think that human element, that trustworthiness and credibility, establishing trustworthiness and credibility is critical, and being legitimately genuine and real is a lot more clear.
Yeah.
Hey, okay, I think at this moment, this is the valuation. Maybe this is not the right time. Let's work on this. Let's give another 12 months time. We'll work on these things. I'll help you. If I cannot help you, you should work with this company. They'll fix your marketing. They'll fix
Mm.
your this thing. Get these things organized, get this to this level, and then revisit the numbers, and then see where you're at. And then at the time, I think I can find a strategic buyer who can give couple more multiples, and then we'll figure that. That is a very valuable conversation that they want to hear
Yeah.
than rushing and listening,
Unfortunately,
right?
yeah. I really value and respect what is your opinion, but 95% of the seller, which I generally interact with, and I'm talking about, we in a month we speak to about 70 to 80 sellers minimum in every month.
Mm-hmm.
95% of them, they come to sell a business when they want to sell it immediately. What
It's
you said
already.
is absolutely true. But if you tell them this, what you told them, they will not answer your call next time. All right. Or you will, and that's it, they're gone. All right. So the business broker are the way they are because that's the sales pitch, because they know
No,
that
no,
if
your
they tell
volume
the seller
seems to be
the
high,
honest
Tahir.
opinion, if you tell them the honest opinion, the seller is saying, oh, I want to sell my business next week, next tomorrow, I have this problem coming. I'm fighting with my partner. I'm getting my divorce from my wife. I have this issue. I have this issue. I have some. If
Good,
you
good.
tell them the right pathway
No,
of
no, it
selling,
won't valid. My statements may not be valid for them. I get it.
yeah.
So again, you see, if you need a band-aid, I have band-aid. I have no problem.
Mm.
If I have to take you to emergency, I can take you emergency. That's not a problem.
Mm.
So it all depends on your situation, right? That's all I'm saying. I'm listening to them, and if you have volume, that kind of a volume, which is good. But again, it's not the same medicine that I can prescribe to everybody, right? I operate like a primary physician. It all depends on the situation. But like I said, if you are looking for, if there is a
I have a
space.
solution. I would like to tell you a solution. Okay, so you identified a very important problem, and I would love to talk about this problem. Yes, I don't see a problem in anything in a brokerage world or anything what sellers are expected, and the number which you quoted, 8 to 10. What I see, the solution of this, a universal valuation method. Why 9 out of 10 properties get sold?
Hmm.
Because there is a data. What is the property sold in the next street? What is this value worth? What is the 5 years of data? Why 9 out of 10 cars get sold, which publicly get listed, or what are the other valuables get sold on the internet? Why the value is lesser? Because there is no any global standard of valuations. So to fix this problem, you need a valuation system. You will drastically see this system changes. So, for example, if you have a tag on this business valuation is done by Krishna Mohan, right? And the Krishna Mohan is a trusted. valuator of a
Hmm.
business. Boom. What do you think? Out of 10, how many businesses will be sold? Valued by Krishna Mohan? 9? 8?
Yeah. So let me.
No. People often focus on problem, not the solutions. So this is the solution of the problem. The problem is neither the buyer, neither the seller, neither the broker. The problem is the process, how it is done. The person who does it is going to win the game, right? You need to have a global standardization of valuation of a business. That will bring a the way broker does the business. That's the livelihood. That's the only way they can do the business. The way you're saying, as an outsider or as a buyer or as a attorney or as an accountant or evaluator, it doesn't work in business brokerage, unfortunately. If every business broker goes to a seller and say, "Hey, you need 12 months to sell a business. You need this. I'm going to give you an exit planning. I'm going to work for you for free for 1 year and this and that." That's it. That broker will, in third month, will go bankrupt. Right? They need to earn a living. So what I think people in the industry should be working on, the brokers, the accountants, the lawyers, and everybody, which should be gearing for somebody who's listening this today, is creating in US. People are talking about baby boomers, 28,000 business for sale, eight of ton businesses not. Everybody's talking about problem, 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 but nobody's talking about the solution.
I'll tell you what, Tahir. I'll tell you that the solution itself is the deal making. That's what I do. It's not. So I'm not worried about. We are discussing problems. Problem by itself is not a problem. Every problem is an opportunity. First of all. Second thing is the reason there is no standardization in valuation. First of all, that's a gap. If everything is so even in the market, there is no deal making. Just so that you know, the deal making is happening is solving a problem itself is nothing but a deal making. That is where you have the creativity. That's where you have the terms versus the price and the money and everything. It's not that in a normal world. Just imagine a hypothetical situation, Tahir. You sell your business for $10 million. I have $10 million cash. I give it to you. I buy the business. The problem is solved. Where is the issue here? But that's not the way real world works. It is not that simple. You don't need that. Like for example, even in real estate, why everybody, oh okay, creative financing, commercial real estate, multifamily, office building, condos, storage facilities, why are they teaching real estate? Nobody need to learn any real estate. If I have money, I go, I have a, let's say I have $5 million. I want to buy a 5 unit multifamily building. I pay cash, I buy it. There's no problem, no creativity, no nonsense. I don't need to learn finance. I don't need to understand cash flows. I don't need to understand balance sheets. I don't need to know occupancy. I don't need to know how to do that, right? But why do you need to know? Because that's not the way real world operates. The real world operates only, all these strategies, all these discussions are only because your goal as a buyer is to spend least amount of, or bring least amount of cash to the table, and then buy the property, buy the business. That's where you have the creativity. That's where you need all these things happen. The same thing, the communication gap between the seller and buyer is existing. To fill the communication gap, you're having business broker as a thing. In this world, in an informed world where everything is available for everybody, where is the role for agents? Where is the role for brokers? Still the role exists, because everybody is like a cat. You drink the milk as if your owner is not looking at you. That's how the world operates. Just because the information is available in a public domain doesn't mean I look at what information you see. Just because it is available, you may not see what information I'm seeing. You and I operate the same Google. What is the issue here? You don't even need to go to school, because what professor knows, you already have it. You just still go to the school. This is how the world operates. Just because there is a broker doesn't mean the buyers are all waiting for brokers to find their ideal deal. They can also go to the same LoopNet. They can also go to the same Best Buy sell. They can also go and do that. They still don't do it.
Hmm.
They still don't do it.
Yeah.
I can challenge and I can prove this thesis. I can clearly take the first search business available in the public domain and sell it, and show the deal. They will not even use the keyboard to go and make the extra effort to search and pay you that 15% commission on the deal. They do that all day long.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
because of this kind of a vacuum exists, opportunities exist. Once the vacuum is removed, everything becomes black and white. Then it's a level playing field, just like internet, just like AI, just like technology today. You don't have to be sitting in US to do a lot of things that you used to do 20 years ago.
Mm.
You can just go and sit in some village in India and do everything. In fact, the guys in villages are doing better than in US.
True,
People
because
like me, we became redundant. I would say redundant is the right word. Means not beyond outdated.
yeah,
Outdated, you have a chance to catch up. We cannot catch up. I cannot catch up to the so-called failed and miserable people that I left behind when I came here.
mm, yeah,
I cannot catch up with them.
yeah, because they
So
have
there
a
is no difference because access to information. What I'm
they
trying
have.
to say is the access to the level playing field is out there right now. But
Mm,
it's just a matter of what you want to do it. Whether you want to do it is not is what is the clear thing. Going back to again valuation,
mhm,
the let me tell you, there is again psychology involved, right? For a buyer, most buyers, again, I'm talking about your specific, right? Selling of a business is a lifetime event. It's not an everyday event. You don't just sell business, and they're not in a business of selling businesses. They're not in a business of buying businesses. They got into business by accident and they built the business. And
mm,
something happened in their life, whether it is retirement or some life event, or they're tired. Okay, they want to sell the business, and they have to always go to kindergarten and learn the whole process. They don't have time to learn the process.
yeah,
They just want an easy way out. That's why they're calling you. In your case, most of them already they made some kind of a damage before they come to you, and
yeah.
then you will identify what
Probably
damage
they
they have
try
created.
to list it themselves, and they are
No, no,
not.
they do all those damages. They do all the crooked things before they come to you. They don't tell you. You will eventually find out. It's like they will. So what I will put the right way. They will mess it up and then come to you. They don't come to you clean.
Yeah,
They don't tell you. So they did not invest in marketing last 6 months. They cut down all this, social media for the last, because it's almost like you are in a love affair just without heart.
mm, mm, yeah,
How long will that continue?
yeah, yeah.
So
That's funny because that's it's good that you mentioned that the seller they stop investing. Oh, why I stop investing in marketing because I'm selling my business. So you should be investing more in marketing so you can get a higher
now
valuation.
this is the advice you give to them as a sensible person. But he cannot take it. What is
True.
this, Tahir? You want me to again invest in this money? I'm
Yeah.
getting it is out. You
I
want me to
started
invest another ten
downsizing.
thousand
I
dollars every
started
month?
exactly. Started downsizing my business because I'm planning to sell it. That's why I'm not renewing some contracts and stuff. Yeah,
So now
that's
you
true.
go
Yeah,
back and say, no, 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 my friend, can we look into the statistics? Your numbers are falling down. I seen the downward trend. For me,
yeah,
it's hard to justify to this future buyer because he's going to track the last year's records. I need to give a projections. If I take this as a basis.
yeah.
You're all sensible, but I don't like to hear.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That's in his mind. He may not tell you on the face. Just like I'm a doctor, right? I'm telling the truth. Why are you saying I have a problem in LDL? Oh, no, 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 no. Your triglycerides are low. What the hell are you talking about? My fat levels are 20. My BMI is 25. I maintain well. I exercise well. But you're saying my triglycerides. I hell with this doctor. He's talking some kind of crap. Probably I'm good to go. But he's finding a risk in your heart because your triglycerides are going to affect your heart, and you just don't know what the hell is this triglycerides, and you think the doctor is wrong, but the reality is reality. My
Yeah.
friend is out smoking all day long. He's so fat and doesn't have any heart problem. Why are you telling me as a heart problem? This is the
Exactly.
same thing in business.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I saw that you have a company, Genius Visionary. So what do you actually do?
Can you go to the executive profile?
Executive profile.
Sorry, executive section, executive team or something.
Yes.
Can
Yeah.
you check my profile and go a little down on the profile?
Yeah, I can see that you have Genius Tax Advisory, you have Genius Visionary Inc., you have Genius Business Credit, you have
So those are
Genius
some of the things I do. Yeah,
Visionary
yes.
Ventures, Ultra Kick Corp. So a lot of stuff you does, yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I did some joint ventures, and again, it's so many things. But yeah, I built a brand, and it's a transition. And
Hmm.
like I said, at the end of the day, you
So,
can
so
be anything.
I could see that you've done some exits. So What do you think the major, most of my audience are people who want to sell business or buy. So, what is the major reason why a business owner who managed a business for a number of years in the end struggle to sell? What are the few tips you would give to a seller as a seller
As a
as
seller to struggle to
when they
sell.
think of selling to the steps they need to follow?
And yeah, that's a good question, right? So number one reason is actually they don't plan to sell. They once they decide to sell, they start selling, right? You want to prepare your business to sell if you have that thought. Like for example, I have to sell my business. Like it's like will we all live in life as if we live forever,
Hmm.
but we don't. But we
Yeah.
will never accept that reality and live every day.
True.
I'm 65-year old. I still behave as if I'm like 2-year old, right? So the same thing in business. At some point, we have to exit, and once we start acknowledging that will happen, then comes planning for it. So it's better that I plan for it at least 2 years ahead, or at least 3 years ahead, because there are other complications like family. You have kids, my other personal finances involved here, my tax situation. How is this play around to this? I have a capital gains situation. So it helps you to plan so many nuances. My son will take over, my daughter will take over, or they will not take over. I have
Hmm.
my wife. I cannot assume something happens to me. My wife has no skill, and she may not be even be able to run this business. I cannot assume. It becomes
Yeah.
a liability to my wife if something happens to me. But again, people do not acknowledge all these things. It's almost like you need to prepare this
It's
like
like
as
most
if
people, they don't create will, so
they
they
don't
don't take
create
that
will,
into
they don't have
account.
trust. And that's what we do on tax advisory. You can go to geniustaxadvisory.com. It's a very powerful business we built there. What I brought is I have an asset and liability protection attorney. I have three CPAs. I have multiple CFOs with all kinds of certified backgrounds in the finance world, and I have a tax attorney on our team. And I kind of look at a person's situation from asset liability protection perspective, tax perspective, wealth preservation and growth perspective. Because you speak to each specialist, they only can talk one, they cannot talk one. So I brought together these pieces together. So once they come, they get a holistic solution and get a planning. All these businesses that I'm kind of indirectly or directly involved are based on the problems I'm seeing in the market and creating solutions. That's what I'm trying to create. That's what I created in that business. Now, so planning ahead of the time will not only help them to kind of resolve the any issues, personal level, professional level, and the business level, and then it puts their business in a better position to stage well, where they can clean their records, financial records. They can have the financial metrics, the basic metrics that everybody is looking for when they're buying a business, or those metrics would be in the right place, so that they can get the right valuation. Would be a good starting point even before approaching a business broker. It's also helpful for them to educate themselves in this process, because again, like I said, they're in the business of business. They're not business of selling businesses. Their business is their core business. They need to set some time for planning purposes. That would eliminate a lot of surprises,
Yeah.
and then that also will help them to find the trusted advisor who can do that, either exit planning or help them the smooth transition. Like I said, the same business can get 3 4 extra multiples depending on the buyer. But if you are aware of that, um, it took a lot of education for me. I invested a lot of money on education, so I know. Otherwise, I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how I can get a better valuation based on the type of buyer. So having that awareness, having the knowledge will help them to avoid a lot of surprises,
Hmm.
and then that would crunch the time when they're actually
Hmm.
ready. And then
Yeah.
basically your business should be attractive enough that others want to buy it.
Hmm.
So that is my end goal. My Otherwise, what happens is if it is reactive, then when I'm reactive, then I tend to be desperate. Because I'm desperate, I make business mistakes that would devalue my business. And then the clock is ticking because I have to sell. As the clock ticks, their business gets devalued, and it's never a good situation. At a point, you will wind up and say, I'm not selling this.
Yeah.
Then what you effectively did is you brought it down
Yeah.
from where it is supposed to be,
Yeah.
and then it's not even sold.
Hmm.
And now this is your baby now,
Yeah.
which you don't want.
So, as an investor, what do you look at the business? How do you see a business that is this is the right business to buy? So, what are the few of the
From an
things
acquisition angle.
from an acquisition?
Okay, so what I look for is, first things first, is the industry. Is that industry relatively kind of stable? How do I see the industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah,
My own personal perception, right, is that any threats, right? Geopolitical threats, tax threats, or kind of, the need for that particular industry. How stable is that? That I would look for. Second thing I would look for is, at least 5 years in the business. Statistics are, again, I'll give you one more statistics. You may be aware, 50% businesses. Again, this is U.S. statistics. Fail in 2 years. The remaining 85% fail in 5 years. 96% of small businesses in US never reach $1 million in their lifetime. This is a real statistics.
1 million revenue.
They will never reach 1 million in their lifetime.
Okay,
Most
really,
So there
that's
is
high.
eternal optimism sold. I will be successful. I will be billionaire. I will be trillionaire. All this crap is the one which is pushed around. The good news for me is I'm not a YouTuber. I will not YouTube, so I'm clean.
Right.
So that's why I'm very refreshing.
Yeah. Yeah.
What you hear from me is
Yeah. Yeah.
raw and real. You don't
Exactly.
learn in school, because I went to schools 3 times.
Right.
So
Why three times?
that's why I'm confident that you don't learn in school. I went to school knowing that maybe I'm missing here, maybe I'm missing there, maybe I'm missing there. in
Right.
US,
Okay.
in
And
US.
and all three times you had the same
No,
experience,
no, no, no,
same
because
learning.
they don't have answers.
Right. Okay.
Because I'm curious, right? I
Mm.
was I was in Fortune 500 companies. I was thinking my bosses know something.
Yeah.
They never had answers.
Right.
I thought, okay, you're my boss, you don't know anything. Then I will ask your boss. Then I realized he doesn't know anything. Then I asked his boss. Then
Right.
I realized he doesn't know that. Then I was asking. Then in the corporate hierarchy, I was climbing up. Then
Right.
I realized nobody knows anything.
Yeah.
Then I thought, okay, maybe these guys don't know. Maybe school may be knowing it. Then I
Is
went
that
to
why you
US.
call? Is that why you call your company Genius Visionary?
That's a different thing.
Yeah.
um, so I'll put it in a different way. Authority is not given, authority is taken.
Yeah.
If that can answer in an indirect way.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went to schools. I went to MBA, and then I realized nothing much.
Right.
Then I went to finance school.
Mm.
That's for my own sake, because blind spot, right? Like I said, if you don't know finance, you don't understand
Right.
the game.
Mm.
So then I challenged myself. You have to
Mm.
challenge yourself. Nothing is
Yeah.
easy in life, right? But anyways, the long story short, you self-study, understand the economy. Nobody will teach you economy. Nobody will teach you how the monetary system works. All those things is self-study, right? But point is, at the end of the day, from an acquisition angle, the industry, look at 5 years in business, going back to the statistics, because if you're there, you did something right, something is working.
Yeah.
Then I look at last 3 years of records, income statement, cash flow, balance sheets, tax records at some point, and then just to see consistency, and then look at some patterns and some things. But at a minimum, like I said, I want to look at, this is my criteria, this may not be everybody's criteria, because I have my own finish line. What is my finish line? I'm looking for multiple cash flow streams which are predictable and scalable. That's my personal objective.
Hmm. Yeah. And how about the
Everybody has
management
their own
team?
purpose.
Do you
What's that?
prefer having a strong management team in place?
Yeah, so then my point is, I will have the previous owner work for me for at least 12 to 18 months as a transition. He will get paid whichever capacity he wants. Like I said, I will make sure they win. I told you, right? Everybody wins.
Yeah.
Everybody wins. So during my due diligence, I will ask, what is it that he's making as owner? I'll make sure that what I'm offering is lucrative and it's justifiable enough for him to spend time with us.
Right.
And then we'll because he's a subject matter expert in that business too, so we need to identify another subject matter expert
Mm.
who can be a leader, and then we'll do the knowledge transfer. Then he will transition out, and the new leader will take it over. Until that time, he will be there, and then I will look for other things like, systems, processes, people.
Yeah.
Hopefully they are there. If not, what can be
I
done,
had
because
this experience a couple of times where the deal was structured in a similar fashion, like you explained, the small deals. I know private equity, they prefer to have a existing owner and they do earn out over the period of time. With the small owners, the emotional element comes in. So once the existing owner gets some paid or 50% or majority of their payout done, and you ask them to stay, later on the buyer and the seller start having issues, frictions, difference of opinion, because the buyer wants to bring in new things, new thoughts process, and the seller is already emotionally attached to that business, and he's or she is too used to doing the things old fashioned way,
Right.
and think that if he brings in the changes the buyer wants to pay, maybe it's going to spoil the business of that, and then that's where the problem starts. So in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
experience, did you ever have
Operationally,
this situation?
yeah, yeah, yeah. So what it is, Tahir, is it all boils down to having a very clear transition plan in terms
Right.
of, okay, post acquisition, what is the operational authority that the
Mm.
previous seller has.
Yeah.
In the sense, we will have a, see, the way you can segregate that is, you have to complete the transaction from a sale perspective,
Mm.
and they need to have a separate employment kind of agreement in writing as a separate agreement with him for his role, even as a consultant. So,
Hmm.
in terms of management decisions, in terms of day-to-day operation decisions or anything, who would have the final authority has to be clearly defined. It cannot be gray. It cannot be gray. And you, as a future owner, will have the ability and the right to hire and fire or do whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
The discretionary powers and those things has to be very clearly defined, and where will the buck stop has to be clearly defined, otherwise this will be a problem.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, you need to have, so there is a judgment call too, right? If we
Right.
see that the person is so much emotionally attached, so
Yeah.
like for example their brand name, right? Maybe they have their cousins working in that office, you don't want to fire them.
Mm.
Yeah, we'll talk about it upfront.
Yes.
You
Exactly.
want to protect him, okay, we'll protect him.
Mm.
Or
Yeah.
again, like I said, the transparency has to be right from the upfront. Oh, you're paying your wife, she's not working in the office, you want to continue to do that, okay, we'll agree for 6 months, no problem.
Right.
Or we won't agree from the day one, things
Right.
like that. Oh, you're writing off your car, I think we cannot allow you to write the car from tomorrow, would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe.
In my opinion, in a small business, existing owner stays, the chances
There is no
are
more problem
he's
like
gonna
these
have
emotional
problem,
problems.
uh,
Yeah, yeah.
problems.
So no, no,
Doesn't matter
100%.
how clear the principles are, the contracts and stuff. Still, down the line, there are going to be issues.
So what happens in that case, Tahir, is again, when you're really going through that small business also, then I think in that case, the honestly, again, it's like an owner operator situation is what you're talking pretty much.
Yes, pretty much.
In
I'm
that
talking about that.
situation, yeah. In my case, again, my criteria is I look for non-owner operated. I
Yes.
just don't even use owner operator anymore. This is my basic criteria is I'm looking for non-owner operated businesses right
This
from
is
the
this
get
is
go.
another this is another out of, if you break down. Uh, Again, I'm going to quote the initial figure, which where we started our conversation. 8 out of 10. You will also see the out of eight which never get sold, four or five of them are never been meant to be sold. They are not businesses. They are basically a job which the business owner
Agreed.
has for themselves, but they think it's a business, but it's never been a business.
Correct, correct, correct. No, no,
That is the
agreed.
reason it never gets sold, because this is a job. If you stop coming to work, you're gonna stop getting paid, right? So,
Agreed. No, no,
so
I agree to. I 100% agree to that. It's definitely that statistics is very appropriate. So
So I
going
think
back to the,
exit planning is important, but again, the educating the business owners, sellers, they have limited resources to invest on the education. They don't think is important ahead of time, and if they are that sophisticated, why they are still a small business owner? Why they did not able to grow their businesses running 15, 20 years? You need to give that,
that is a good consideration, Tahir. The reality of the
thought.
matter here
Yeah.
is, like I was telling you, right? Even if you look at a decent sized companies with 60 employees, having a proper team in place and decent revenues, MBS running the business does not still mean they have a clue about buying and selling businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, that does not mean anything from that perspective. But they kind of try to do on their own, like you mentioned, they will try to do on their own. They could not pull it off. um, there is an expectation mismatch. They will, oh, my friend sold this business for $100 million. I need to sell for at least $80 million, right? That doesn't work that way. So they will still need advisors. They will still need an expert guidance for their transition. They would still need somebody to value the business. They would still need somebody to, because it requires, like I said, matching the right buyer. It requires some level of, relationship building activity, and then trust, and all the good stuff, because trust is important. Okay, all these numbers are looking good on
Yeah.
paper. How real are they? Can I rely on those numbers, right? Those
Hmm.
kind of things still exist. So in my case, like I said, going back to acquisition criteria, I look for those numbers for sure. But then apart from that, I would still have the previous owner stay in the business, just because I'm hedging. I'm trusting his numbers. I want him to be there for some time. I have no problem collateralizing, or even having some equity in the escrow for him in exchange of doing it. I'm all that. At the end of the day, I need somebody to take the responsibility and onus of those things, because I'm betting on you. I'm risking this, and that was the reason I'm actually looking at a leverage situation,
Hmm.
in terms of any non-recourse debt that we can bring onto the table, and then do these stuff. On the flip side, the businesses that are not getting sold, as during this process, what happens is many of them, they want to work with me even if we don't do the deal. That's where I'm getting into partial equity positions. I can help you guys to get where you want to get, but then my time is valuable, but I need X amount of equity. I'm not here for
And
some little money.
that equity is materialized when the business gets sold, or materialized in
No,
the.
no, 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 no. I'm striking that kind of equity, basically, right from the get go. So you will have, access to cash flows, equity, upside, and exit, and all the good stuff. So basically, I'm on their team, effective immediately.
Hmm.
But then that comes with the skin in the game, because then I'll bring my resources, right? So if I'm on your board and you use my credibility, my trust, and then if I have skin in your game, I'll do anything to make that happen, right? You don't need to follow up with me. You don't need to treat me like an employee, and I'm not your employee. That's I have stake in your business. I will make sure that your business will succeed. That makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah, it
So
does. It does. It's a
that
very
is
good approach. Very good
that
approach.
I am taking that approach, and
This is
I am
another way
doing it.
of preparing sellers for exit. Yeah,
They're
that
liking it.
helps.
They're liking it because a lot of things, obviously, what I can bring, they don't have it. They cannot bring it. I
Yeah,
would say that.
and especially also your focus can be because you know how the deal making works, so you can take care of them and they can run day to day business
And
activities.
they need few things, right? Like maybe
Yeah.
suddenly they need to raise some capital, right? Or they need
Hmm.
this. For example, I can create a board. They cannot create a board.
Hmm.
Is anybody can create it, but credible people will not come because they come with my credibility. So I may be creative in doing different things differently than the way they're doing it. Those are the things that are valuable for them, and it's smart to use resources, and make sense, and add a couple $1 million to their business, and then take an exit. And then, because everybody has a big dream, everybody want to do a roll up, everybody, but they don't have wherewithal. Those are some of the things that maybe we can consolidate that industry. I
Right.
can help them to do that if they want me to do it, but
Hmm.
I can only do so much for my time, and this is what I want. This is what I will, I will invest, or I will bring the resource to the table. That's the other way I'm looking at it. But I'm very choosy and very selective where I invest my time and things. So, but I have also other credentials. I'm also a mentor for Select USA, which is part of US Department of Commerce for tech women entrepreneurs expanding to US. I'm a mentor around the world.
Right.
I'm also this year speaker for that. It's one of the largest and the most prestigious event in US. They selected me as a speaker for this year to critique all the startups raising capital at the event, and guide them and things like that.
You're also
Those
an
things.
author of the book, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I authored almost like three books.
Nice.
Uh,
Okay.
I think. Yeah, which is outside business also. So I have different interests. So so yeah, just basically what it is, Tahir. At the end of the day, you keep doing the good work and keep moving forward. Other things will happen.
Yes, amazing. So, Mohan, I'm really enjoying our conversation, and I would love to have another conversation with you. I'm going to write you an email. I think this is one of my best podcasts. I really enjoyed. And you, as you said in the conversation, yes, as you interact, the relationship remains, and you have another friend and another somebody who wants to have a relationship with you for a long time. And
Absolutely.
I really enjoyed this conversation. I think we have a lot to talk about, but I need to end our podcast now.
Yeah.
It has been pleasure talking to you. I'm going to send you an email, and we need to connect again, probably on a Zoom call or something, so we can get to know more and hear your point of view on different things. But I really enjoyed our discussion today. Thank you for being part of our show today. Thank you so much.